it's more of an open one, so
If that's the one where you're saying, yeah.
sort of explaining
That's what it was. Go about 8 through our cross our
For now,
right across the street. Right across the street. And it's not a trail, it's not. So there's no reinforcement of any rules. They don't care. They're going by so fast, I don't know if they notice.
yeah, there's quite a bit of storage. We just have-
Share it if someone gets hurt. I don't think.
I can't answer that. We're out of the cross office, we're in manual. We're not.
I gotta get over.
Provides.
This, the Dean County is up against the, as far as what they have. Tell you. We're based out of the cross.
78. Well, for me, it'll be hard. For you.
Sure.
You know, let's just let you know.
No, I understand it's definitely a heavily traveled path. I guess.
They're available.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I can't, like I said, we're not real familiar with their long-term programs. But we're just sort of handling this.
Best my knowledge.
So, yeah, sort of can't give you a better answer.
Make us our own. Yeah.
I'll take a look at the
All right, do you want, yeah, I think.
Sure. Well, thank you everybody for coming. As you read in the newspaper, this is a DOT public hearing listening session on the proposed entrance change for Wisconsin Heights. And so I know the representatives from DOT will make some presentations, but also, as you saw before, more than happy and willing to talk about what the projects look like, you know, what the impacts are. I mean, a lot of familiar faces here, so thank you for coming and listening and asking questions. So I'll turn it over. As they've said, one of the things I appreciate for this to happen perhaps as soon as 2014, the DOT, and Dan has been my primary contact and he's here, but they turned it over to the La Crosse office and they've come this way to help out in terms of the project management. So again, they're here for a specific reason, which is to help engineer and coordinate this process. And with that, I'll turn it over to Todd and his crew, so thank you.
Thanks. I just wanted to thank everyone for coming tonight. Give brief introductions. I'm Todd Waldo. I'm the project manager for this project with the DOT. This is Lee Ball. Balziger. He's one of the project leaders, as well as Jay Adams. They've both been working on all the details for this project. And then my supervisor, Steve Flatmeyer. Lee will give just a short presentation, and then after that, we'll let everyone come up, take a look at the displays, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask any one of us. So with that, go ahead.
Okay. Thanks again for coming, everybody. I just want to give you a short presentation to hopefully answer some questions up front, so we don't have to answer them over and over again. A little background on the project and some of the key improvements that I'll be going over are also in the handout, so if you haven't grabbed one yet, please grab them before you leave. Start with the reason for the project itself. The project is a safety improvement to correct hazards and some issues with the existing entrance. The existing entrance and exit to the school can be very confusing to drivers using the entrance and exit for the first time, trying to determine which one is actually the entrance. Also, that entrance causes left turn vehicles coming into the school parking lot to slow down and often be stopped in the through lane of traffic for people heading westbound. There is a bypass lane in the westbound traffic that allows traffic to avoid these vehicles. But since it is a rural section, a lot of times drivers aren't expecting to have to make a lane change in order to avoid a turning vehicle. A few of the features of our design to make it a little safer and easier for drivers to navigate. First is going to be by combining the entrance and the exit into one access point. This will hopefully eliminate confusion tied to which is actually the entrance. And as some of you may have noticed, the exit has already been taken out of service, hopefully to lead up to drivers being better prepared to use that in the future. The second is going to be by adding a left turn bay for left turning vehicles. This is going to be created by a curved median, which creates this turn bay only for left turning drivers. The main part of this is it gets those left turning drivers out of the through traffic, allowing through traffic to continue without having to make any adjustment in lane change to avoid those turning vehicles. Thirdly, we are having an offset right lane, which is very similar to what's out there currently, but it is offset an additional 8 feet. The reason for doing that is to help exiting drivers to be able to see down the road as far as possible. By offsetting that 8 feet, it gets those turning vehicles out of their line of sight so that they can see as far down the road and be able to tell if somebody's coming or not to make a better decision when they can come. Finally, along with these features, there's going to be plenty of new pavement markings and new signage to help drivers navigate the intersection. As far as construction goes, the project construction cost is currently estimated at $1.3 million and is scheduled to be let for bids in May. So most likely construction would start in July 2014 and would hopefully be wrapped up by the end of September. At all times during construction, we will have 2 lanes open to traffic. In order to do this, there will be lane restrictions as far as width, and we will have to create a temporary lane on the westbound lane by adding a lane next to the westbound lane in what is currently the shoulder and the ditch there. Access to Olson Road will be maintained at all times during the project, and access to the school will also be maintained primarily off of Olson Road, which will be open at all times. But also, if the project does carry into the school year, we're going to do all that we can to open up access at what is now the existing entrance to make it easier for people to go in and out. Whether we can do that or not depends on the project and how things go, but we're going to do what we can to keep that open. I guess that kind of wraps up where I had. At this time, feel free to come up and look at the displays, and if you have any questions.
Just one thing, Katie wanted to get up and say a few words, so I'll let her go ahead and
That's Danielle.
Oh, sorry.
But I
Dave.
represent Katie,
I'm sorry, Danielle.
I do understand that I have not been a part of the school or part of the surrounding area for very long. This may be hard, but I don't represent a government agency or a homeowner. I do represent Katie and the safety of the students, teachers, and the future student teachers. I've been doing some research and I became aware of a program called Precious Cargo from Texas's Department of Transportation, and this is from their continuing commitment to safety by Mark Abal and Rose Majalta. So basically, Texas Department of Transportation now has a Precious Cargo program that's specifically created to make safer school locations and to improve the safety at current schools that have problematic locations. And I've read through this, and unfortunately, it also took a tragedy for this program to start. In it, it says often schools are located along or near high-speed two-lane highways that were never intended to accommodate the traffic volumes and patterns typically associated with schools. Traffic control assistance was requested or even demanded by schools after the school was already built or completed, and by this point, it was both difficult for parties to take time and cost-effective actions to remedy the problems. So, in the worst case, what happened back in 1998 in a county of Texas was a 7-year-old boy was fatally injured near his school, where the car he was riding in was struck from behind on a highway that was 65 miles per hour. I do understand that it is 55 miles per hour outside of this. It's a 10 mile per hour difference, but now we have a suggested 45 mile per hour speed limit, only suggested, not enforced. So they were in the same situation we are in now. They had a tragedy, there was a death of a 7-year-old boy, and that brought both the school district and the Department of Transportation together. There was negativity from both sides, pointing fingers, blaming names, or anything like that. But what they did is they created this program to bring everybody together, to bring the districts together, to bring the Department of Transportation together. And they found that, they figured that this was not just something that happened once, it happened all around Texas, and they knew that it would happen across the country. So one of the creators of it came up actually to Wisconsin and testified before the Transportation Committee of Wisconsin State Legislature to explain the concepts and benefits of the Precious Cargo program. As a result, the program was used as a basis of state legislation requiring the Wisconsin Department of Transportation to work with school districts to help them develop traffic plans around all new schools. I understand this school has been established for quite some time, and maybe when it was established, this wasn't a highway that had such high volume, but these are the recommended guidelines from the Precious Cargo program for traffic operations and safety at schools. And once again, I understand cost effectiveness. I understand time. I understand that there may be problems with homeowners or farmers trying to figure out how to get new entrances into their fields, but this is about the safety of the future students, the safety of the future teachers, and the safety of the future student teachers. So these are the guidelines that provide for safe entrance and exit and safety around schools. And keep this in mind when we think about projects for this project and for future projects that I hope will help make this a safer entrance and exit. Excuse me. So the guidelines are, school sites should be situated where the road alignment provides good visibility. And we knew that this was a problem because it's a stretch of road between two curves. Provide access from more than one direction to the immediate vicinity of the site, and provide access to the site from at least 2 adjacent streets. We don't have access from 2 adjacent streets, it's just from Highway 14. School entrances should not be placed on trunk highways or major roads. Locations should be chosen on roadways with the lowest speed limits and or lowest average daily traffic. Obviously, the road out here is Highway 14, and that is definitely not the lowest average daily traffic on those roads. High-density traffic near school entrances and exits due to the proximity of highways, periodic commercial traffic, or high commuter traffic from industrial plants should be avoided. So high-density traffic near school exits and entrances should be avoided, and this is from the National Safety Council. So in the end, when Wisconsin School was built, these guidelines in the Precious Cargo program were not established, and the highway outside probably wasn't as big of a deal then. But now we do have a school that's directly located on a high-speed highway, and now we have to do something to change that. To change the obvious lack of safety this situation presents for our teachers and students. And these guidelines were researched and implemented not only to create safer school transportation in Texas, but also to the country for situations like ours. We need to use what they learned to improve the dangerous and perilous entrance/exit at Wisconsin Heights. So when we look at the proposed project, we must ask ourselves, does it provide the necessary safety requirements these guidelines have established? If it does not, we will have the problem of an unsafe entrance and exit to Wisconsin Heights School, and there will still be safety accidents and concerns. What I urge the Department of Transportation and the Wisconsin Heights School District to do is take a look at the Texas Department of Transportation Precious Cargo Program and all that they've learned and all that they've researched, and say, can we make a project that'll work like theirs? Thank you.
Well, at this time, if you have any questions or you want to look at the displays, feel free to come up and we'll try to answer any questions that you have.